Hey, now, detoxification. Detoxification is a subject that we hear thrown about so much, so much, especially when it comes to weight loss, and especially when it comes to people trying to sell you these supplements that are going to be the be all end all. You do this for 7 days, you juice, and all these sorts of things that are going to make you just literally drop the weight so quickly. But are they actually causing you issues with your health? Are they making your health worse? Chances are the answer is yes. Now, we need to detox. It's a system that allows our body to get rid of the stresses and the toxins that have been thrown onto it in our day to day lives. Now, a major part of detoxification happens when we sleep and we detoxify and regenerate our cells. So, first off, if you're one of the many people that are waking up during the night, maybe you're having problems with detoxification and there's more stress being thrown onto your body that we need to look deeper into. Now, there are two sorts of toxins. We have the fat soluble and water soluble toxins. Okay, like the two further down the line toxins. Now, the water soluble ones, your body should be able to deal with and literally get out very quickly, unless they uptake them somewhere else and you're not weeing or you're not sweating them out. And then we have fat soluble ones. Now, fat soluble ones are a little bit harder to deal with. And one of the reasons that so many people have problems losing fat, they go on this stressed out hypercaloric diet. They go on a calorie deficit, basically. Now, their toxins are stored in their fat cells. Now, because we don't have mitochondria in these fat cells, not talking about brown fat cells, but in the main fat cells where body fat is stored, the body sees these toxins as safe when they're in there. So that doesn't want to release them. Now, if it has poor detoxification systems, it knows that if it releases these toxins from these fat cells, it's going to potentially cause more damage and more stress to the body. So it doesn't want to do that. So, in order to be able to drop fat, you need to work on your detoxification systems. Answer: green tea, milk thistle, turmeric. These things are pretty certainly going to block your detoxification pathways. Yeah, block your detoxification pathways if we actually have them go in there. And what we have to look at is there are four phases of detoxification. Well, the first phase is phase zero. I don't know who decided to start counting at phase zero, but there's phase zero, one, two, and three. And phase zero is where we get that toxin and we mobilize it and we get it into the cell where it needs to be sorted out. And this toxin, if you imagine a very angry face, it goes into the cell and we can actually inhibit phase zero detoxification by having green tea. There are studies that show that green tea will inhibit this, and exposure to diesel fumes and other toxins that are actually in the air and pollutants that are in the air. So if we can get through phase zero, we then have phase one. I don't have to go into the science here. I could geek out on this all day, but like there's a thing called cytochrome P450 enzymes, and they're responsible for phase one. Basically, what happens here is it exposes this toxin to a hydroxyl radical, which makes this toxin more angry. So it's really pissed off now, really frustrated, and it got that really angry face. This toxin in phase one is now worse than it was beforehand. Why do we make it worse? Well, we then have to go into phase two, a reaction of conjugation, where basically we give it something. Like it's been frustrated. It's been so frustrated. It's lost its most prized possession, and we give it back to it. There's things like sulfation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, acetylation, amino acid conjugation, and methylation. Basically, we give methyl donors for methylation, we give sulfur donors for sulfation, and so on. And now this toxin is happy. It's water soluble. It's got its prized possession back. We go into phase three now. Now, if this is working well, then we can get rid of this toxin. But certain things are going to block these phases, like green tea is going to block phase three as well. And we also look, I believe turmeric as well will block this. So if you're having these and then we can't get rid of them, but if it's working well, phase three, it's now water soluble. We should be able to get it going in our sweat, in tears, in breath, in urine. we should be able to get that. It's water soluble. It goes out into bile. If you've got a good GI tract, then it's basically bye-bye. We get rid of it. But if you're one of the many, many people that aren't going to the toilet every single day and doing a poop every 14, 16, 17 hours, chances are, because bile gets recirculated around 14 to 17 times, we're then going to uptake that toxin and it's going to get put through phase 0, 1, 2, 3 once again, and it's going to do more damage. Now, there are 3 phases that we have to look at. We have mobilization, we have detoxification, as I've just spoken about, and excretion. Now, environmental pollutants that I've mentioned are going to be massively detrimental to stopping you being able to detoxify. And they've been linked with some serious diseases. We're talking about metabolic disease. We're talking about cancer, reproductive issues. If people have had fertility issues, it could be some serious toxin exposure. We're looking at neurodegenerative and neurodevelopmental disorders. So if you're suffering from severe brain fog, we even look further down the line of toxin exposure that there could be signs with dementia, and I'll get that in a second. But then with like respiratory disorder, there's immune function issues, there's cardiovascular disease, GI dysfunction, and IBS, IBD, renal disease. All these things are massively linked to environmental pollutants. And it's interesting looking at the neurodegenerative side of things, because dementia has actually been linked with midlife weight loss. And actually, there's studies that show, should we even be fatter when we get older? Like, there's a study that shows that if you're fat during your life, overweight, fat, hold extra fat, obese, whatever we want to call it, and you stay obese with no change, you're going to be less at risk of dementia. Hang on. Ollie is a health coach. He shouldn't be saying this, right? But it's what the study shows. Now, if you are lean throughout your life and don't get fatter, don't get more obese, then yeah, you don't have any excess risk. Now, and if you are lean and gain weight, say like 4 or 5 pounds over 20, 25 years, you have less risk of dementia. Now, the people that were more at risk of dementia are the people that lost weight in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, because they then exposed their body to higher level of toxicity from these free radicals, from the toxins they were releasing, because their body could not detoxify effectively. And then they get frustrated. So they go through this weight loss phase. They release these toxins. They don't get excreted. They get reuptaken. And they go back into the cells and the fat to try to be made safe. And they do damage. Now, we're all exposed to these. They're stored in a lot of our tissues, especially fat tissues. And it's likely, very, very likely, that low doses over time is like that Chinese water drip effect, that low doses over time are very, very damaging. And physiological damage occurs, which has been shown to contribute to obesity. And we then have this constant release of xenobiotics, which is going to be a problem hormonally. Now, lipolysis or fat loss, or pushing our body into fat loss, increases, as I've said, this release of toxins. So if we're going to try and lose fat, we have to absolutely 110% have to be able to drop weight effectively by being able to detoxify. If not, you're going to have brain fog go through the roof. You're going to have anxiety go through the roof, stresses go through the roof. We're going to have a lot more issues if you just keep, especially if you try and do a detox diet and you're doing this juicing or this extended fast, and you're releasing these toxins, but you can't get rid of them. You're going to feel pretty crap. So we have to look at, like, short term, we can have metabolism issues. Long term, you get into chronic disease. So what actually do we need to do? We need to look at what is going to stimulate mobilization. Well, it's anything that stimulates fat loss. So exercise is going to stimulate mobilization of toxins. And we need to be able to do that. So getting the right amount of exercise. Too much can be stressful. Be aware of that. We need to be in a calorie deficit. Too much can be stressful. And there are studies that show that intermittent fasting can help this if you are able to intermittent fast without causing excess stress because your glucose management is poor. So good glucose management has been shown to help mobilization. Now, if you're someone that gets hangry, you get shaky and irritable if you miss meals, probably your glucose management isn't very good. If you get lightheaded when you stand up, probably your glucose management isn't very good. If you wake up through the night, probably your glucose management isn't very good. We would want to fix these things before getting your body to detoxify effectively and trying to go on a very low calorie diet or trying to be really, really strict with fat loss. If you try to do this fat loss, chances are you're going to be very stressed and cause more issues as a result. And then we get into the actual detoxification. Well, we need to make sure we look at the things that don't inhibit. So we need to make sure we cut the things out that do inhibit. And this is where like green tea extract upregulates phase one. So it inhibits phase zero, but upregulates phase one, that thing where the toxins get angrier, where it's even more frustrated that it's lost its prized possession. But they also, green tea will downregulate phase three, which actually getting rid of that toxins. Curcumin, turmeric, will downregulate phase three. Milk thistle blocks phase three. So we have to look at and be making sure that we're not having these things that block it. If you look into so many detoxification supplements, how many detox supplements have milk thistle, have curcumin or turmeric in there, and have green tea? If you've got any, go and have a look. So how are we going to have it if we're having higher levels of the things that actually inhibit detoxification? We're not going to be able to do it very well. Then we look into juicing, and juicing carrots, juicing apples, juicing celery, fruit and vegetable concentrates. These are things people have a lot on juicing and detox diets, right? Well, they've been shown that they may inhibit detoxification. Now, again, it's very contextual. It's not to say that these things are bad for you. I'm not saying that carrots are bad or apples are bad, all this sort of thing. But it's put it into context here that if we are juicing them to try and detoxify, chances are that we're going to be causing some issues and inhibiting detoxification. And as I've said, that various compounds that are usually found in a lot of detox supplements, because they may upregulate one area, potentially downregulate other areas of detoxification. You are not going to be able to detoxify unless you can go through mobilization, detoxification, and excretion. What can we do? Well, we can have a good multivitamin. Now, people go to supplement protocols, and one of the frustrations I have in functional medicine is that there's a protocol for this, there's a protocol for that, and there's a protocol for 3 other things. Got problems with detoxification? Have this. Got low thyroid? Have this. Got rheumatoid arthritis? Have this. It's almost like it's a supplement selling industry. Well, yes, we may need supplementations, but most things, like we need to have a good multivitamin, a good high level multivitamin that has fat soluble and water soluble multivitamins in there. And we need to make sure that first off, we're avoiding these things that are going to be inhibiting things like phase zero. We avoid green tea. We avoid diesel fumes, not just drinking diesel fuel. Don't do that. It's not going to do anyone any good. Phase 1 and 2, get the right veg in there. Get brassica, get cruciferous veg in there. Onion, garlic, leeks, sprouts. These things are going to help with phase 1 and 2 detoxification. Then we look at phase 2. Now, one of the things I absolutely love is rooibos tea or red bush, depending on what you want to call it. This has been shown to help phase 2. And then we look at N-acetylcysteine as a supplement. We look at whole foods that contain sulfur and methyl donors. Like we need those in there. We need good quality proteins and amino acids. We need good levels of vitamin A. Now, this is where it comes into eating real foods, and a good variation of different foods and fibers can help. And vitamin A, as I said, get that in there as well. Now, phase 3, one of the things that has been shown to really, really help it is St. John's wort. Now, this is not to say go out and grab St. John's wort. This is not a recommendation. This video is for entertainment purposes only. If you need to speak to a practitioner, do so before you go out and grab these supplements, because St. John's wort has actually been shown to increase detoxification, increase clearance, and that includes medication. So if you're on any medication, it could increase the clearance of this medication to actually mean you need to take more. So please speak with a registered physician, a qualified, a licensed physician if you need to. If you want to speak to me, then drop me a message and we can talk about your individual basis. We need to work at these on an individual basis, on a contextual basis. Then we look at excretion. Being able to go to the toilet, if you're one of the many, many people, and it seems to be more women than guys that I speak to that kind of normalize not going to the toilet for 1, 2, 3. I even had one person not go to the toilet to do a number two, to do a poo for 5 days. And I know of someone that has said 7 days. I wasn't working with her, but this is very, very bad. Chances are you're going to have serious anxiety levels if you're not going to the toilet for 5, 6 days. If you're not literally going to the toilet to get rid of these toxins, to get rid of the crap, then it's going to be reuptaken and it's going to be very damaging to the body. So we need good bile production. And if you've got reflux, if you've got problems with stomach acid, low stomach acid, if you're on things like lansoprazole and stuff like that, chances are further down the line, we're going to have problems with bile production. If you've got poor liver function, if you've had alcohol issues in the past and had too much alcohol, drug abuse, all these things are going to be massive implications for your liver and kidney function and detoxification systems. We could supplement with and improve like GI health, gastrointestinal health. So we could supplement with phospholipids to help the phospholipid bilayer around the cells. And there's also a thing called tauroso deoxycholic acid, or TUDCA, that helps your body as well to increase the bile flow. Things that have also been shown to help is intermittent fasting. Again, intermittent fasting if you have good blood glucose management. We can have a look at botanical agents and bitters. We can make sure we're getting a good variation, very good variation of fiber. These are things that are really, really going to help with the excretion. Making sure we're sweating enough. So if you're exercising, making sure you sweat when you exercise, you're pushing yourself a bit. Regular saunas, even sauna in every single day. Making sure you're fully hydrated and making sure that you've got good kidney function and that you're actually being able to excrete it from urine as well. If you're not hydrated, you're not going to be going to the toilet and having a wee, so you're not going to be getting it out there. So we look at the right diet and exercise. We look at sauna, vegetables, rooibos tea, intermittent fasting once glucose is regulated, and some supplements. It's a lot to go through. We look at a multivitamin, a fat-soluble multivitamin, a probiotic to begin with, maybe an essential fatty acid, but only the right quality supplements depending on the individual. And this is where it comes down to you as an individual. Too many people will say, do this detoxification protocol or that detoxification protocol, but not know the history. And then we try and do these fat loss protocols and we try and drop fat, but wonder why this brain fog just goes through the roof and our brain just feels like it's got so cloudy. And then you fall off the bandwagon. All these things happen as a result of trying to detoxify. We get worse sleep. So then people get frustrated, go back to square one, put on the weight that they may have lost a little bit because they've dropped a few pounds and then stalled. But it does not have to be as frustrating as this. You can improve it if you go about it the right way. Improve the way your body works. A side effect of that, you drop weight if that's one of the things you want to do. You get rid of that brain fog and you start to feel so much better. You keep doing this, you end up getting so close to burning out that you can just see it happening every single day, the impact it's having on your business, relationships, like just your whole entire life. Do you really want that? If the answer is yes, then great. If not, do something about it. There's plenty of information in this video. If you want more information, you want to ask questions, drop me a message. I do have a free guide, 8 steps to reduce stress and get rid of and eliminate brain fog, which you can download if you go to ojayhealth.com/brain fog. Totally free. Drop me a message if you've got any questions. But